Us just 3 weeks until the midterm elections in the U.S., and there's so much to talk about. Let's start with this. In an interview with 60 Minutes, President Trump touches on a wide range of topics, from Christine Blasey Ford to climate science and even the future of Defense Secretary Jim Mattis, calling him a sort of a Democrat.
What about General Mattis? Is he going to leave?
Well, I don't know. He hasn't told me that. I have a very good relationship with him. I had lunch with him 2 days ago. I have a very good relationship with him. It could be that he is. I think he's sort of a Democrat, if you want to know the truth. But General Mattis is a good guy. We get along very well. He may leave. I mean, at some point, everybody leaves. Everybody. People leave. That's Washington.
Let's say hello to my guests, Executive Director of Build the Wave, Nate Lerner, Managing Editor of TheHill.com, Ian Swanson, and Editorial Director at the Daily Caller, Vince Coglianese. Thanks for coming on the show, guys. It's good to see you. Vince, let me start with you. Did you find the tone of the president that he used about Jim Mattis, did you find that surprising?
No, not entirely, because, you know, this often happens. You start to see the beginning of the end of various figures within the Trump administration as the president signals that there's something deeper, there's something underlying about his relationship with General Mattis that's going to begin to be fleshed out over the coming weeks. I don't find it ultimately surprising that the Secretary of Defense will eventually leave, but putting a timetable on it is a fool's errand, I think. I mean, this is the kind of thing that for now could be a momentary curiosity, and he could stay on the job for a long time, or we could see General Mattis change over very quickly. Who knows?
Okay, Ian, what do you think? Is Mattis on his way out?
Well, there's been a lot of speculation for some time that Mattis's time in the administration might be coming to an end. I think it flared up again with Nikki Haley's decision to leave as U.S. ambassador to the United Nations last week. But I agree with Vince. I mean, it's very hard to read that much into the president's comments. He says things like this from time to time, and I certainly don't expect Mattis to be leaving before the midterm elections. I think after the midterms, it'll be interesting to see what kind of changes are made within the administration. I thought it was kind of interesting that Trump, again, talked about Mattis possibly being a Democrat, just because if Democrats do retake the House, there's going to be this this curiosity of whether Trump is going to start doing deals with Democrats. So that was sort of interesting to me as well.
Nate, same question to you, but I also want to add this one. You know, is Mattis, if he stays, do you think Mattis is the kind of guy to take, you know, presidential insults for a long time, the same way, for example, Jeff Sessions has for so long now?
Yeah, I think at this point, if you look at Mattis and Jeff Sessions and John Kelly, they're there really out of a sense of duty at this point. They look at who Donald Trump is. They look at his leadership style. They look at his incompetence. These are individuals who behind closed doors have called him an idiot regularly. And they're really there at this point to continue protecting America in many ways and making sure that he does as little damage as possible. So I think they're there out of a sense of duty, and they're not my favorite people to have there. But at the same time, I would much rather have them than someone who gets along better with Trump and who worships him, as so many of his supporters do. I think Mattis might be on his way out, but honestly, I do hope he does stay, as I hope Jeff Sessions and John Kelly do as well, which, as a Democrat, pains me to say, but it really is the scenario we find ourselves in now.
Vince, from a media perspective, there seem to be different views on how Lesley Stahl did here in this interview. Some say she challenged him well, others say it was too soft, and others say there's no way to fact-check everything this president says. Vince, what do you think? How'd she do?
Look, I thought she came across as a bit of a political partisan, and that's the way she thinks that she could get information out of the president. I found it kind of amusing that she went out of her way to defend China, because she brought up the question of Russian meddling. The president acknowledged it, also said China was an issue, and then she was like, well, you're just trying to distract from Russia. Well, no, it's possible for two foreign countries to be adversaries of the United States at the same time. But Lesley Stahl went out of her way to defend China. What was that all about? That was a kind of a partisan move on her standpoint. But the president clearly was interesting. Lesley Stahl saw him as confident, and he was definitely forceful throughout this interview.
All right, I want to move on to another topic. Let's head over to the Senate race in Texas, where Ted Cruz's rival, Beto O'Rourke, announced another eye-popping sum for his final quarter haul, $38.1 million, an all-time single-quarter record for any Senate candidate in history. Here's what he had to say about it.
We are doing something absolutely historic, not just ensuring that we have the resources to run and to win, but to make sure that our democracy once again is powered by people and only people. People over special interests, people over PACs, people over super PACs, people over corporations, people ensuring that we do the right things for Texas, for this country at this critical moment. And so I just wanted to take a second to say thank you for making it possible.
Ian, let's start with you. What do you make of this record-breaking fundraising effort? Can it finally push Beto over Cruz? Because, to be honest, Cruz still has a pretty comfortable lead, doesn't he?
Well, the ironic thing is that it really was a stunning fundraising total that O'Rourke came out with. The ironic thing, however, is that as his fundraising has been astronomical, Cruz is actually moving away from O'Rourke in the polls. It seems like Cruz and some other Republican senators in red states were really helped by the debate over Brett Kavanaugh's Supreme Court nomination. And the two most recent polls, I believe, have Cruz ahead of O'Rourke by 8 or 9 points. There's been some reporting over the last couple of days of some Democrats even being a little, maybe annoyed isn't the right word, but they'd like to see O'Rourke maybe share some of the wealth in states where some of the contests are a little closer. Now, there's a debate on Tuesday night. O'Rourke has a chance to cut into Cruz's lead at that point. There's still, several weeks until the election, so he's got some time to turn it around. But the trend lines have been going in the wrong direction. The good news for him is with this money, if he chooses to use it well, he should really be able to have O'Rourke advertisements up from now until Election Day like crazy.
Yeah. Nate, how significant is this for Democrats, just, the fact that this is another major candidate on the national stage using that Obama and Bernie model of a lot of small donations?
Yeah, this is absolutely critical for us, and this is a huge indicator of where Democrats are at right now. We are energized, we are excited, we are involved at a level really never seen before. The numbers he's putting up right now are absolutely unprecedented for a Senate race, or really any election in a midterm. It's absolutely incredible to see, and it does speak to how excited the Democrats are. And that's really what we need in order to flip the House and flip the Senate moving forward, is this level of engagement, small dollar donors stepping forward, candidates like Beto O'Rourke stepping up and really just showing what our party's about. I do share that concern, though, that he is taking a little bit of the air out of the room. Beto is a fantastic candidate, but at the same time, there are so many other Senate and House candidates who we need to worry about who are less high profile. And I think it's very critical that folks who are supporting Beto are also getting out there and chipping in $10 or $20 to support other congressional candidates as well, because their elections are just as important, if not more.
Right. Vince, what is it about this race that fascinates Americans so much?
Oh, I think Ted Cruz is a polarizing figure. I think that's partly why. And also, Beto O'Rourke, for that matter, is a charismatic one. But it's sort of the Democratic Party, and both of your guests here have indicated this. This is a sad misallocation of resources for a state where Beto O'Rourke is not going to win. Half of the donations, actually, are from out of state. This means that these are Democrats nationwide who think that Beto O'Rourke is the guy to put their money behind. That is the wrong horse to bet on. He's not going to take out Ted Cruz. It's a giant waste of money, and it's giving Republicans a lot of glee in states where they are having these tough races, but again, gaining on all of their Democratic opponents, as Ian pointed out, because the Kavanaugh hearings went so tragically wrong for Democrats that it's led to electoral repercussions.
All right, I want to move on. Two voting rights groups filed a lawsuit on Thursday accusing Brian Kemp, Georgia's Secretary of State and Republican candidate for governor there, of unlawfully blocking 53,000 voter registrations, which has prompted his opponent, Stacey Abrams, to call for him to resign and accuse him of voter suppression. Let's get to know Kemp a bit more by looking at one of his ads.
I'm Brian Kemp. I'm so conservative, I blow up government spending. I own guns that no one's taking away. My chainsaw's ready to rip up some regulations. I got a big truck, just in case I need to round up criminal illegals and take them home myself. Yep, I just said that. I'm Brian Kemp. If you want a politically incorrect conservative, that's me.
Vince, I'm going to start with you because I saw you were giggling there. I'm going to start, I want to ask you this. He's canceled 1.4 million voter registrations since 2012. Isn't it a problem that this man is now in charge of registration of an election that he's actually running in?
Well, the law in Georgia is there's an exact match system. In other words, your data has to actually match what it says in your Social Security registration or in the state's driver voter system. So for that reason, this is about voter integrity. The numbers we're talking about are not canceled registrations. They're pending registrations. In other words, the people who show up on Election Day, so long as they have a voter ID that nearly matches what their name actually is in the voter registration system, they're going to vote. There is no problem here. This is actually a non-scandal. But Stacey Abrams is trying to make it a scandal. She's actually the person who ended up registering most of the people whose names are now caught in pending. In other words, her organization took down the wrong names, and now they're stuck in that system that's trying to guarantee that only people who should vote are.
Ian, what's your take on this?
You know, my take, honestly, is that midterm elections are about anger, and I think that we're seeing examples across the country of both parties trying to motivate their bases by getting them fired up, by getting them angry. Certainly in Georgia, one way of doing that, if you're a Democrat, is to point out the possibility that of voter suppression of African-American voters. Abrams would be the first African-American woman, I believe, ever elected as governor to a southern state, and black voter turnout is key to her success. She's running, I believe, about 2 points behind in the recent polls. So it's clearly a close race. Kemp, I think, has the advantage on the ground just because of the history of Georgia and the fact that Republicans, generally are going to do well in gubernatorial races there. But I think what Abrams is doing is trying to fire up her base a few weeks before the election, and whether it works, I don't know. We'll find out in a few weeks.
All right, we have a couple of minutes left. One more topic. Kamala Harris, the freshman Democratic senator from California, has announced plans to visit Iowa in late October. She recently said she will seriously take a look at running in 2020 following the midterms, but she isn't the only one looking to throw her hat in the ring against Donald Trump. I want to show you a poll showing that it's getting really tight in the ring already there with Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, Biden, who has the highest there, 33% leading everybody, and Sanders, all making campaign signals. What do you make of this, Nate, that Biden, after all this, he hasn't really made too much noise yet, but leading with 33% in this poll?
Well, I think it's still way too early to speculate about presidential candidates, but what the main takeaway here is that Democrats have an incredibly deep bench, and we're really seeing that nationwide in candidates running at every single level, from the state level to the national level, who are experienced, they're diverse, they have fantastic new ideas, and we're seeing that at the presidential level, too, where you have a wide array of phenomenal candidates coming forward, all of whom would make fantastic nominees for our party. And it will be a little bit of a mess, certainly, over the next year or so when the candidates are running against each other in the primary. But at the same time, it's going to be a fantastic opportunity for our party to have these candidates on full display for the country to see and to see what Democrats are about. Okay,
Vince, wrap it up for me in 20 seconds. Who on the Democratic side has the best chance to beat Donald Trump?
I mean, right now it might be a Kamala Harris or a Cory Booker. It's just they're going to have to convince people that they're actually impressive. So far, they've been unimpressive. And the polling that exists, it's all about name ID. The reason Biden's at the top and then Bernie Sanders, Democrats recognize them so far nationwide. Kamala Harris is going to have to do a lot more than crying about Brett Kavanaugh to get front and center in the eyes of American voters.
She'll have to do a lot more than that.